morning, everyone. Dex here from A2K. And thanks for joining us for today's webinar, New Revit 2021, How It Connects to Manufacturing. We'll have technical consultant Ben Branch presenting for us. So first, we'll just go through about A2K ourselves. We're all about fostering innovation through consulting and training. A2K Technologies plays a vital role in helping the infrastructure, building, mining, construction, architecture, and manufacturing industries reach their full potential by delivering complete technology solutions and support services such as education, consulting, and IT managed services. We're working with visionaries to shape the future of design and in turn enable them through innovation to minimize risks, improve productivities, and achieve excellence. A2K Technologies is considered the business partner of choice and trusted advisor by vendors and clients. We partner with major software and hardware vendors to meet our clients' technology needs. We strive to exceed client expectations by understanding their challenges and delivering solutions through experience and innovation. We work with clients and companies of any size nationally and abroad. Over to you, Ben.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Ben Burns. I'm the Structural Technical Lead at A2K Technologies. I work with a lot of business workflow transformations and software implementation. I've got over 25 years of experience in the structural and consulting engineering industry. So I've done a lot of industrial work, commercial, high-rise residential, a lot of design and construction documentation, utilizing AutoCAD, Revit, Inventor, Civil 3D, etc. I've been a Revit user since 2010, and I've got a structural engineering associate diploma. I do present to the industry and I'm all about automation. So anything that you do more than 2 or 3 times a day, you should be looking at ways to automate that and make your workflows more efficient. So today's agenda, it's just a bit of a rough agenda. So we're going to go into just how to export your 3D view and elements to Inventor. We're going to show how that creates a live link to Inventor. So as you may have heard, now in 2021, it's a live link. You're not actually just importing the file and then having to maybe update it or whatever. It is a link that can be constantly synced back into your Inventor model. Very similar to like a Revit workflow with work sharing and syncing your model between work shared people. We're going to just do a creation of a simple awning. This isn't really a Inventor tutorial, so I will just be showing how to just create a simple awning in Inventor. You could use the power of Inventor then to really go into sort of shop detailing sort of stuff. You could also use that to like do more skeletal frames and all the functionality of an Inventor. I won't really go too much into that. I'll just say like a very simple awning. We can show then how we can go into Revit and amend that file and then resave that, like resync that back into Inventor and change our design accordingly and have that live link. We'll then also show how we can create a Revit family file. So we can create a Revit family file from Inventor. It does have some parametric use. So you can have like a link in there to a website of a manufacturer or something. It's purely a Revit family base. So you could then utilize that as a family and change more parameters inside there. But it's a good way just to get that Inventor family as such into Revit and be able to place it and have it again where it can be updated or changed accordingly. I'll just show you how to do a quick bit of reviewing of that Revit family file and then importing that Revit family file into your project. I'll also just end with a bit of a touch on the Autodesk desktop connector, where you can just make sure you have all the latest versions and make sure that you're keeping your software up to date, which is quite important. Now we'll get into the live demonstration. So we'll jump straight out of our PowerPoint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Revit 2021. And while that's opening, I'll also make sure I open up my Inventor Professional 2021. The data set that I'm going to use for these issues, it is just the Autodesk sample file. So it's open Inventor on top, so I'll just minimize that one for the moment. And I'll just open up our sample Autodesk project, which does come from the samples. So I've got that file open. The best thing to do when you're looking at importing it is you can import the whole project into Inventor. It does take a lot longer and it's probably not the best workflow. So you're better off just importing the information that you need. So what we're going to look at, if I go to the 3D model itself, we're going to look at just doing a simple awning over this area here. So the best way to do that, first of all, is to go to our 3D view. So we can see it here. That's the one in bold. That's the current one. What I'm going to do first of all is duplicate that view. Just plain duplicate. There obviously is no detailing in this 3D view, so I'll just duplicate as a plain view. Put the copy and I'll just rename this file as well. And I'll just call that awning 3D. And one of the reasons to duplicate it first is it won't affect the visibility of your 3D model if you did change it through there. So now we've got a totally separate 3D awning. Now what I can do is just by selecting that window header and selecting that railing, and I can type the command BX, which is B for Bob, X for X-ray. And that will cut down my section box to just include this area. I can use my visibility and go through annotation and turn that section box on to view it. So that gives me the extent of the awning through there. So I'm going to try and put just a rough, I'm going to put a rough awning just in over this area. So what I'll do now is I'll save this project. So I'll just file, save as, and again, I'll just save a copy of this onto my desktop. So now I'll go to my Inventor file. So this is the plain Inventor interface here. There are a few ways you can insert it as a part, which gives you different editing options. Inserting as assembly does bring it in as a good reference model to do a pure assembly in. So we can go new assembly through here, through our dashboard, or you can just pick new through here. If you pick new through here, that does give you the better chance to pick what template you do want to use. So I'm just going to use the standard one here. So it's a standard multi-part one, and it's got a millimeter setup and create. So now I've got my Inventor interface. From here, the first thing we want to do is import and place our imported CAD. So it's under the Assemble tab, and just place imported CAD files is the one you want to use. I should probably point out, some of you may have questions as we come along. So there is a Q&A in the Zoom window, so feel free to use that. We do have quite a few attendees, so I won't be unmuting people. If you do wish to ask questions, I will leave them to the end, and I will also check the Q&A. If you do want to verbalize a question or have a chat, please raise your hand through the Zoom function, and I will have a look at that as well, and I'll unmute you. I'll give you a little bit of notice before I'm going to unmute you as well. So just for that, just use your Q&A in the Zoom window for any questions you've got as we go along, and I'll address them at the end. So now I can look where I want to find that file, I do know that I've saved it to my desktop and under my Inventor folder, and I can path to that Revit file. So I'm just going to bring that in. As it's an Inventor space, you don't really need to worry too much about shared coordinates and the like. We will give it a UCS point when we create the family, and that will sort of set the family up. Shared coordinates are not really something you need to worry about in this workspace. So this is where we can bring it in as a reference model, or we can convert the model. So if you're going to convert the model, you're better off to use a part rather than an assembly. And that will give you more control over the items. It will convert the model, so you don't really get the link as such. You more just get the part of the model. I would not recommend this as well if you're trying to do the whole model. It's more if you were trying to bring in like a column or something like a fireplace or something to then convert it and then use the Inventor functionality to fix it up. So for this example and all of today, we're just going to bring them in as a link and as a reference model. From here, we can see it has defaulted to the 3D view. And we can see in the preview, it's also picked up 531 elements. So this is where you get to use the drop down and actually select what view you want to bring in. So if I did bring a kitchen one, which was one that did have preset in there, we can see that's a perspective and it's more of a rendering. It has 544 elements. If I try and bring that in, it's going to cause a bit of an issue. If I go to my awning that I separated off with a section box, once I select that, I see that I'm only getting those elements, and the elements has gone down to 55 elements. So that's a lot more usable and okay. That will translate that. It is pretty quick, depending if you have less than sort of 50 elements or so. Again, our placement isn't important. I'm just going to central that in the middle of our model. You can see there, I now have a Livelink. Oh, well, you can't really see that it's live, but it is linked in. I will show how it's live in a moment. What I can do now that this is here, I can create a frame. So I'm just going to create a rough frame around the outside of that or the inside face of that awning. So if I go to my design tab, I can go to insert frame. It will ask me to save the assembly. So I'll save it from here. Again, save it to just my Inventor folder. And I will just call that awning 1. So we can use this as like a skeleton set out for our frame. You could also use it to project points. So if I did want to have like intermediate beams, I could extend like a point up in Revit to give me a reference point or a bit of a wireframe to use to construct my awning frame. So I'm just going to use the inside face of the walls and the end of the wall as sort of my wireframe set out points. I can choose a channel in here. I will do it with a channel. We do have, again, it's Inventor, so you've got all your standard items through there. I'm using the Australian standards as well, which is using our AS 3679 code. You do have your Great British Code, your ISO codes, etc. I'm going to just use a 100 PFC. Again, I do have the ability to change that. So I'm going to select a line, and I'm just going to select that inside face there. And as it places the member, I can see that I've got my ability to flip it. And I've also got my line up where I can align that member. So I'm going to flip the ends so that I've got the outside face on that wall. And I'm also going to use that top line of my frame as our justification point. So it is like that. And I'm going to pick another frame across the front edge here. And I'll also flip that so the toes are inside. And I'll do one on the internal face here. And that's toes to the inside. Now that I've got those members in there, I can save that as a file. So I can just save that as a frame. I don't really need to worry too much about the naming of the frame. So I'll just call it frame at this point, and OK, and OK. So that's put my members in there. I can see them. Now I can manipulate those members. So now that I have them in there, I can miter them. So I'll miter this one with the far one, and then also miter this one with the inside of the, I'll just cancel that and I'll do that again. So just mitering these two, and then do another miter for these ones. So I've got my rough frame in there now. And I can use my visibility here to turn off my awning. So I've got the frame and I've also got the awning. So the awning from Revit here, I can right click and change that visibility. And I've got my frame. I didn't miter quite correctly there, so I might just fix that up as well. So I'll just turn the visibility of that back on. Go to my miter and fix that up. And OK. So now that I've got that in there, what I can do is just to show how it's a live link, I will go back to my Revit. I'm just going to do this reasonably roughly. I'm just going to move this wall in 1 meter. I'm not going to worry about fixing up the railing, which will go through. So I've got the railing that goes through. I could edit the boundary of the floor and also align that to that inside face and lock it. Again, I could fix the boundary if I wanted to, but I'm not going to bother for this example. And now I'll just resave that file. And now that I've saved it, if I go back here, I will see that it has picked up that we have a update to do. So if I hit this link here, that will basically just sync in. So it does flash here with that lightning bolt if it has been updated. If I click on that, I'll now see that that wall will come in 1 meter. So you've got that live link aspect. So it's a live link in such that you do need to update it, and that's really because you really don't want stuff coming into your model as soon as you change it. You do want to actually monitor what's coming in and going out, and you want to have that control over how you're syncing your project. So that's why it's good that it highlights there. You can see now that it's synced, that has gone back. If I do go back and move that back 1 meter, and save, we can see that the slab has followed the wall because I locked it and aligned it to the inside face. So I've now just done a quick save. If I save that again, you'll see if we go back to Inventor, the lightning bolt has become active. So again, if I hit that, that will sync it to the old location. So that gives you the chance to update your model. I will just undo that sketch. So I'll just undo that move, save it again, Control S for a quick save, go back to Inventor. Sync that in again. And now I can use that to actually update my frame. So I can select my frame. I can edit the frame. and then I can move those items if I choose to. So by selecting it, going to my once I click on the frame, I can move the or I can just create a new one. Yeah, to change the frame, so you need to go under the frame editing and then change. And from there, I can place a new frame on that inside face. I'll just return out of that. And I will move us back to our original link. So again, if I just undo that move, move that wall back 1 meter, and it creates that Livelink. Save that file. And a lightning bolt again to update my reference. So to bring that awning now into a Revit file, so I'm going to change that awning now just into a Revit family file. So to do that, what I'm going to do is just again turn off the visibility of our awning. So by selecting that, right clicking, turn off the visibility, so I just get my awning. Now what we want to do is actually go to our Assemble tab, and I want to shrink wrap that assembly. What that will do is it will simplify it. So if you had a real complex item, it would simplify a lot of the edges in that and just turn it into a more manageable family. So by shrink wrapping it, it does take out a lot of that complexity, the rotations and things like that. So when I shrink wrap, I can select the components first and simply hit shrink wrap and OK. And that will, it shows me here my design view, positioning, etc., and what's included in my item, and OK. So now that I've shrink wrapped it, you can see the appearance has changed slightly. So from there, I can now go to my environment. So if I go to my environments tab and go here now to my BIM content. So if I select on BIM content, I can provide a UCS for the placement of this item. So I'm going to put a UCS at the bottom corner here of my frame. So that's now provided that UCS. And I can also author my building components. So in here, when I select that, this is now going to basically give me that orientation. So I can change that to the model origin or the view cube. Through here as well, I can also give it a family type name. So I'm just going to have this as like the standard component. You could have other options through there as well. We do get the opportunity to give it an Omni class number. So if I select through here, you've got all your Omni classes through there for all your items. This is fully searchable as well. So if I do type in awning and search, it will come up with my awnings through the Omni class. So I'm just going to give it the projecting screen and a manual awning category. So now that I've got that set, what I can do is give this a description. So I can hit in here proprietary, which I'm going to spell wrong. And I can also have a manufacturer in there. I can give it a model number. So for this one, I'll just call it 2021.103. And you can also give it a link to a URL. So I'll just put in our company. And okay. And now what I want to do is export those building components. So I've sort of authored the Revit file, but I haven't actually exported it as yet. So now that if I hit export, it will come up and ask me that I should save it. So I will save it first. And okay. I think I may already have one in here. So I'll just call that awning shrink wrap. And save that under my desktop Inventor and save. So this is now rebuilding that family file. It will take a moment. It should be reasonably quick. So it's saying here the operation completed successfully, the detailed information. So I can view a translation report, which opens up a HTML file. So I'll do that now. And it just in here, it's just giving you how many faces were in your item, where it came from, what the bounding box size was. It's nice that it's put in inches. Any connectors. So you can provide connectors as well. I haven't done that in this example. So if you did have, for instance, a dishwasher, or something like that, you can put in your pipe connections and also your electrical connections for electrical items. So if you had, an electrical item, you can make sure it's got the right connections there, and that will work with Revit as well. So you've got your cable tray, conduits, ducts, pipes, and electrical items. And now I can just finish from creating that BIM content. The best workflow to do now is to actually open that family file and review what's come through. So if we go File, Open, I can go to my awning shrink wrap family there. So that's the one I just created, and Open. So this gives you a chance to review that awning. I can see that it's coming all right. I can go to my 3D here, and I've got my awning. You could add parameters in here. So if you did want to, you can add a lot of identity data and parameters in if you chose to. It does come through reasonably raw. As you saw, it does bring that Omni class number through, and it does bring through the other information that we put in. You can make it from here. You could make it work plane based, always vertical, etc., and just use it as a normal family. Be aware that it has come in as specialty equipment. So that is where you'll find it if you are looking in your project. What I'm going to do simply now is load that into my project. So if I hit load into project, straight away it's thrown me to that main cover view, and I obviously cannot create this kind of element in this view. So if I go to my awning 3D, and what I can do now is actually look through my families. So if I go down to my families, it is loaded into the project, and it's under our specialty equipment. And I have my awning there. And it's the standard one as we made. So if I bring that on, and I can place that at the location. So that I can move that, that's come in as a simple Revit family. So I can move that by the points. I'll take off my thin lines or my thick lines, and I can move that by that intersection. to that intersection and align it properly. So I can use the align command as well to just align the faces. And align it at that top face as well. So again, just AL for align, make sure I pick that face and that top face and move that into the position. And that's now linked in and it's a true Inventor component. So I could now go back to Inventor, I could add slats, etc. I could use all the Inventor, I could make the slats rotate and things like that and have the full Revit functionality and just have this family updated. You can see in the family, if I go in through the edit the type, it's actually brought in that model number, it's brought in the manufacturer, and it's also brought in our URL and our description of it. So that is a good way to be able to make that family from there. And I can load and use that in the project quite easily. So the main takeaway is just to remember that the best way to do it is to really make a separate 3D view of the skeletal frame that you want. So by making any points, so you can put in placeholder columns as well, and that may give you, that will give you top points here if you wanted to put some inner frames in there and really make it an Inventor model. If I do go back to our just normal 3D, I might even just go to a 3D of our kitchen. So if I go to our kitchen here, I can grab our, they are renderings, not 3Ds. I want to go to our 3D view here. I'll just have a look. There were some comments in the chat. I'll just review that. So now I can select into it. I was in a rendering before. And again, I can duplicate that 3D view. Again, I won't bother duplicating the detailing. There is no items on there. I can grab one of these benches as such, one of these kitchen islands. I can use my BX command again to get that section box. We'll see. I'll just have a look at quick look at the chat. So someone's asking if it works with Fusion 360. I'm not aware of that. I could probably send you an email later or something once I check that out, but I haven't checked out the BIM 360 function. Oh, the Fusion 360 functionality. With BIM 360, it does work. It is a matter of going to the cloud. I'm not going to set that up now because I'll have to load the project up into the cloud, etc. But if I did want to collaborate, I could collaborate with this in the cloud. And save that into my BIM 360 management. Go through here and path that correctly into a folder. So I can put that in my project files through here. Then I could path back through my Inventor. So going back to Inventor. Remember, you can't bring the CAD file into the iPart. You do need to use the iAssembly to bring in that imported CAD file. So again, I could go to my place imported CAD files through here and then path that through to my BIM 360. And from there, I can find my folder and bring that file in through there as well. So that is another way to use the BIM 360 component if you have a cloud-based model. So just on this one quickly. So what I can do is now save this. So I've got the 3D view here. So that's my, so I do need to duplicate this 3D view. So if I duplicate that, just again, so I don't lose my settings of visibility on my standard 3D. And now I can call that my kitchen island. I'll try to do it in the right case. And okay. And now I can bring that into the same file. So if I do bring it into my awning file, so I've got here, it does need to be re-brought in. I do have the visibility of it off, so I will make the visibility on again. And I will import that again. And you can see how it's actually brought in that frame as well. So I can check that, how aligned I am with that frame. I could amend it accordingly and it becomes that Livelink. So I can bring in the other one in through here as well. It will sort of confuse it a bit. So you are better off if you want to do something in the kitchen to do it separately. But just to show how I can bring that awning in again, bring the kitchen in this time. So if I click on awning Revit and open, and again, bring this in as a reference model. And it has defaulted to that 3D view, which I haven't reset that section box on, but I would go to my kitchen, copy. Maybe I didn't reset it. Okay, did I save that? So maybe I didn't save it after I did the island, so I will resave this now. So my 3D should be the whole model. I'll turn the section box off, and that's my whole model 3D. My kitchen island. So I think I'm just looking for the wrong one. Kitchen island, which I don't have, so I may have just not saved that. So I'll go back here, save that again, and replace that imported CAD. And kitchen island. So I just did that, the save in the wrong order, and bring that in as well. So again, like, see, this isn't the best practice. You are much better off if you're going to provide another sort of a new sink and tap system, or a mixer tap or something, or a dishwasher. You're better off to create an entirely new assembly for each assembly that you're doing. But just to show that functionality where you can bring the island in, again, you can use all those frames and points to build a Inventor model in here. And again, you can select them and save them out as a family file and edit that. But you're much better off doing that in a separate assembly. So the proper way to do that would be to create a new assembly, new metric standard, and again, place that CAD imported file. Bring that kitchen island in. And again, that would be a Livelink. So if I do I'll just take a cabinet out of that Livelink. So if I go back to my model here, I'll just delete the dishwasher to make a new one. So you can see you've got that gap in there now for the dishwasher. And if I saved that, That may not have been enough of a significant change. And if I use my lightning bolt now, that's taken out my dishwasher. So you can see there how it's quite a simple live link. It's creating that live link between the models. And that is the Inventor to Revit workflow. I will as well, while I'm here, I'll just show and make everyone aware again of our desktop connector. So if you go under your Windows button, if you type desktop connector, it's the first one that should come up. If not, you may have to type your Autodesk to find it. And then it's a matter of opening that. And this is the best way just to check for your updates. So make sure that you're checking for updates through here. The current, and this will give you all the updates for all your softwares. There is a new version of this that just came out on June the 25th. So the current version is the 0.0.0.46. The new version that came in, you can get through your taskbar down the bottom here, and if you click on your desktop connector so that you can see the new version of that actually came in this morning, or came in on the 25th of June, is 14.0.0.1063. If you click on that item there, you will, if you right click on it, you can get your, and it will come up if there's an update available. So just make sure that you always keep that updated, and that will keep your versions up to date, and any releases, bug fixes, etc. will come through there. I'll just have a quick look through the Q&A now. So it was just that question in there about Fusion 360. And I am not aware of the functionality with Fusion 360. I can check that out and get back to you. If you contact our A2K Technologies website and put a query in through there, we can probably answer it through there as well. I do have someone with their hand raised, which is Max. So I might just unmute you if you want to ask a question. So Max, you're unmuted now.
Yeah, just a question. You've done a lot of steps in Inventor to do that. Why not create the awning inside of Revit?
Yeah, so this was just a sample to show that functionality. So you'd mainly, like an awning itself is probably, you are better off probably just doing that straight in Revit and having that awning. It's more in Inventor, you could put in like, you get a lot more functionality with moving parts. So if you had like an awning where the slats all rotated and things like that, Inventor would be the best place to do that. So it's more for Inventor workflows. So even things like dishwashers, even the tap system and that, like you could do, there's nothing to stop you doing a Revit family of that tap. And as we know in the sample project, they've done that.
Yep.
As a Revit family.
Yep.
But it's just it's more for mechanical use. So if you were doing like even a motor or a winch or something like that on the side of that awning, if you had a winch system, it's much better off using Inventor for things like that are more more sort of machinery driven.
Yeah.
So I'm quite structurally based. So I came up with an awning. I'm sure someone that was a lot more mechanically minded would come up with maybe a better item to have done there. But for instance, if someone did put in a new dishwasher, that's where they could design the dishwasher totally in Inventor, and they could also put in all their connections. So going through our BIM content, they could start to put in all their conduit connectors, duct connectors, and all the pipes that they needed to have for that dishwasher. And it would just work a lot better in an Inventor workflow. But it's really only just showing how you can get those skeletons out of Revit. and then use them to construct whatever you wanted to construct in Inventor. The awning, as you and I know, you would probably prefer to do that in Revit anyway.
I mean, and even if you wanted to have moving parts on the awning, you can still do that in Revit,
Yes.
and you could use Dynamo and the new Rhino insert to actually move those things as well by just creating a simple script to actually move the louvers on the if you know what I mean.
Yes, yep,
Yeah.
yes, you're correct. I won't argue that point with you.
That's fine. I just was curious because there's a lot of steps that you went through to
Yeah, I think like the main aspect is this. It's more because we use Revit, so we know all the functionality in Revit, and we wouldn't really dream of like putting it into Inventor to use. So it's more just showing how people in Inventor can now get that Revit model in there and have it fully referenced and linked.
That's cool.
And,
no problems.
Yeah, and be able to use that as a set out. So you can even, as I said, like with sort of almost placeholder columns, you could set points and basically put a whole wireframe through into Inventor where they could then put a full assembly skid and then have like kettles, nozzles and all that all through Inventor.
Yeah, cool.
So,
all right, thanks for that.
Yep, thank you. There was one other person with their hand raised, which they may have lowered. I think that was you, Chris, if anyone else wants to raise their hand to ask a question. There's a new one in the, so... there's no further questions at this point, so I will throw back to Dexter just to close that out.
Yep, thank you, Ben. And thanks again for joining us on today's webinar, everyone. And if you have any more questions, you can always contact us via email at info@autocadtechnologies.com.au. Bye for now.